Translating English sentences to mathematical sentences. Now that we know how to translate a mathematical sentence in words to a mathematical expression in symbols, it's time to practice translating from English sentences to mathematical sentences, so then we can go the full circle and do the two steps together to translate from an English sentence to a mathematical expression. So let's do a bunch of practice problems. The best way to practice translating is to just dive in and look at different examples. So we're going to write a mathematical sentence first in words for the English sentence, and then we can translate that mathematical sentence in words to a mathematical expression with symbols. So our first example is the total amount of money my friends have if each of my 4 friends has X amount of dollars. So here we're looking for a total, but we want to see that each of my 4 friends, so we're going to use the number 4, so we want to think each has X amount of dollars. So you want to think what operation represents for each of the 4 friends having a certain amount of dollars. So we can translate that to the operation of multiplication. You want to think it's 4 multiplied by X, and then in symbols, that's just 4X. So the total amount of money my friends have, if each of my 4 friends has X dollars, can be represented by 4X. The next example, I have my age if I am X years older than my 4-year-old brother. So here you want to take the pieces from the English sentence. You have the fact that you are an unknown amount of years older than, so older than, think of what operation is for older than or more than my 4-year-old brother. So we know the brother is 4 years old. So comparing the two, older than we want to think is the operation of addition. So that would be 4 added to X. So X plus 4 is what our expression looks like in symbols. So the English sentence, my age if I am X years older than my 4-year-old brother, can be written as X plus 4. Now let's look at the example, how many apples each person gets if starting with 10 apples, 6 are eaten, and then the rest are divided equally by 2 friends. So more than one thing is happening here in this sentence. First, you want to think how many apples each person gets. So that's an unknown amount of apples. How many apples? So we have to represent that unknown. The apples are going to get. If you start with the 10 apples, but then 6 are eaten, or you can think eaten or subtracted or taken away from. So you have that quantity, which we don't know. But then the rest of that unknown quantity are divided equally by 2 friends. So mathematically, that mathematical sentence will look like the total of 10 minus 6, that's the eaten part, and then divided by 2, that's the divided equally part. So again, we want that total of 10 minus 6 to happen first, so that's why we can almost think there's parentheses around 10 minus 6, and then we're dividing by 2. So we can say that how many apples each person gets if starting with 10 apples, 6 are eaten and the rest are divided equally by 2, can be represented using the symbols 10 minus 6, that quantity, divided by 2. Here's an example, my speed if I travel d meters in s seconds. So we have a certain amount d meters in 6 seconds. So you want to think what operation are we using to compare the two if it's in 6 seconds? Well, we want to think that that's also division. So we can translate the speed traveled in d meters in s seconds to d divided by s, and then we're using the slash symbol here in order to represent the division. So this English sentence translates to d divided by s, or d slash s, or d over s in symbols. Here's the example, how much money I make if I earn D dollars per hour and work for 40 hours. So again, we have our unknown variable of D, and we're working for 40 hours. So we want to know how much money you make how much money you make in a session if you're working for 40 hours per hour. So here, a really good keyword is per, to think of the operation you're going to use between the variable D and the number 40. So we can think the operation you should think of is multiplication. So that's going to be D multiplied by 40, and to represent that in symbols is 40D. So how much money I make if I earn D dollars per hour and work for 40 hours is going to be 40D. Let's look at one more example. Here we have my height if I am 5 inches less than twice the height of my sister, who is 8 inches tall. Again, this is an example where more than one operation is taking place, and we really should look at the sentence as a whole and then break it down into the different parts. So my height, if I am 5 inches less than, so right away less than is indicating an operation, but then twice the height of the sister, who we're using the variable h. So we have less than, you should think of an operation, and twice should use a different operation. So here we can translate that. If we take away the height and the inches and the sister information, we can translate that to the mathematical sentence of 5 less than 2 times h. So 5 less than, that's the subtraction, and because of the than, we're switching the order of the 5 and the h. So we're actually switching the order of the 5 and the 2 times h. So 2 times h is multiplying h times 2, so 2h, and then we're subtracting the 5. So my sister, if I am 5 inches less, my height, if I am 5 inches less than twice the height of my sister, who is 8 inches tall, that English sentence translates to 2h minus 5. Now, if you notice, I'm telling you that for the height of my sister, we're using the variable h. In almost all of these examples I've shown you, I use a variable that's given to me. But sometimes you have to pick which variable you're going to use. Now, you really can use any letter you want, but there are letters that we want to avoid. Letters like L, I, T, O, or capital O, little s, capital S, all of the lowercase versus uppercases. But think, why are these letters on this list? Why would we want to avoid these letters? Well, these letters are confusing because they almost look like different numbers and operations. So in the case above, the L and the I almost look like the number 1. The little t, the lowercase t, looks like the plus sign. The letter O, whether lowercase or uppercase, looks like a 0, and then the letter S, lowercase or uppercase, looks like a 5. So when translating, that's just one pitfall you want to be careful with. You can pick variables that have to do like height, we used h, time. Sometimes time is a little difficult so we might want to use like minutes. If it's a specific amount of time, we want to use the M rather than the T, because T looks like a plus sign. So just be careful when translating and picking your variables.